We're going to show you here in this video and videos to follow, so stay tuned, that the evolution theory is not based upon scientific evidence, but rather on lies upon lies upon more lies. So we're going to be flipping through textbooks.
Yeah. Somehow I get the feeling that when VenomFangX says he's going to be going through some textbooks, that what he really means is he's going to be redisplaying some slides from Kent Hovind. I happen to have a modern biology textbook in front of me here. I used it last semester for Biology 1. It's copyright 2005. The book is called Biology by Campbell and Reese. So, you know, we'll compare mine to his and see what happens there.
And showing you what the evolutionists are saying and showing you that they're absolutely wrong and ridiculous and they're dishonest.
Okay, so you're basically saying that there's a global conspiracy of scientists trying to pull the wool over our collective eyes. And, you know, I don't really think that's plausible. The more people, you know a secret, the harder it is to keep. And the very nature of science as a self-skeptical enterprise, it's just that if for any premise or any theory that's ascendant at any given moment, if there's actually evidence that would definitively dethrone it, then there would be someone somewhere that would capitalize on that, and the evidence would hold up. That's the whole thing. That's how science works. You present your data, you present your evidence, your theories, all that stuff. We collectively analyze it, and if it doesn't hold up to the scrutiny, then, you know, take it back, work on it some more, bring it back. We'll talk about it again. But as of right now, okay, what is creation science? What are some of the oh wow, and now I'm not trying to make an argument from the consequences here, but you know, like science as an enterprise gives us these things like the internet and electricity and medicine and all this kind of stuff. What has creation science, like, tell me one technological advancement that's come from creation science, one you know, empirically verifiable prediction, or you know, something like that. Give me something. It's not science, dude. It's not science.
They know what they're saying is not true. It's just, going back to what I said before, they will not entertain the idea that what they're saying is not true, because the alternative, which is God created the heavens and earth.
Oh, VenomFangX, you are a lot of fun. It's actually, you're one of the harder people to make video responses for, but it's not because any of your claims are valid or anything like that. But you've just got, it's like this big tangled up yarn ball of fallacies, and it takes so much time to unweave it. It's really hard. But anyway, okay, so what you've got here, first you've got a straw man version of evolution already in your mind, but now you're putting up a false dichotomy. That's another fallacy, where you're saying you either have to accept this version of evolution, which isn't even really what, you know, I subscribe to, at least, or you have to be a biblical literalist, accept the flood story and all that garbage. And there are myriad other options available to our fine audience here. You and I just represent two particular viewpoints, not the only two.
The alternative, which is God created the heavens and earth, scares them too much.
Okay, this is another one that you and everyone else should just remove from your repertoire, because it's not an argument. I can't believe how much traction this actually holds with people. But okay, so I don't want to put words into your mouth, but let me get this straight. You're saying that I believe in evolution because I don't want to believe in God, and I don't want to believe in God because I'm afraid of being judged, right? But if I was actually afraid of being judged and thought that that was something to be worried about, would the fact that I willfully deluded myself while alive ultimately get me out of that? It wouldn't, right? There's no reason to think it would, so why would I? Oh, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's not what I think. I'm pretty sure that's not what anyone else thinks, and it just makes you look ridiculous when your argument against my position is that whole rigmarole.
It's too big of a concept for many people. So I'm trying to bring you, if you are an evolutionist, I want to bring you outside your comfort zone And I'm going to show you that what you believe is not only wrong, but that what I'm saying is right.
Okay, so you've got two things there. First, what I believe is wrong. Two, what you say is right. Okay, now let's unpack that. First off, I realize VenomFangX did not specifically address this video to me, okay? But for the most part, he's got a long history on YouTube. Unfortunately, you can't see most of his videos on his channel anymore. He's deleted them for some reason. But he has consistently shown that he really doesn't have that much of an understanding of what the theory of evolution entails. So just for discussion's sake and to unmuddy the waters a bit, let me just tell everyone here evolution in a nutshell as I understand it. Okay, so here's here's evolution in a nutshell. The RabidApe version. Number 1, organisms reproduce with variation. Number 2, due to those variations, some organisms will reproduce more than others. Number 3, as time goes on, the variations that tend to favor reproduction become more common in the population. Period. That's it. Notice that I didn't say anything about the origin of life. Notice I didn't say anything about where the universe came from or the Big Bang Theory or any of that kind of stuff. The only thing evolution at its core deals with is how life diversifies over time. Also notice that the process is not random, okay? To a certain degree, individual mutations, yes, those can be random, but the selection process is not. It was put very eloquently by a user by the name of Aborted Soul, but it's no more random than if I took a bowl, you know, and poked holes in it, and then I put in a bunch of different size marbles. Some of the marbles are going to fall out, and some of them aren't. Okay, even though I put in random size marbles, there is a certain non-randomness which is inherent in the process. So same kind of thing. Not random, okay?
So let's get right into this, starting from the beginning. Charles Darwin went upon the Bugle on the high seas, and he went to the Galapagos Islands, and what did he see there but a bunch of finches? And those finches, he noted, had a whole bunch of different beak sizes. These are called Darwin's finches. You can look them up. So Darwin looked at a whole bunch of finches, and you know what he said? He looked at them and he said, this is amazing. All these finches must share a common ancestor, but they show distinct qualities in their beaks. Each one has a different sized beak. So, for whatever reason, Charles Darwin stipulated that because these finches have different sized beaks, that the bananas and the birds must be interrelated and have a common ancestor. Now, that's a stretch, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, gee, okay. Once again, you are wrong on so many levels. It's kind of funny. It's extremely frustrating. But I'm going to try to wrestle through this. Okay, so yes, Darwin did notice the different sized beaks on the finches. That was not, however, the thing that made him come up with evolution in and of itself. You know, that's not what the theory rests on or anything like that. Like, people have even, like, evolution had been around as a concept before Darwin. He was just the first one that actually articulated a way that would make sense. Like, look up the guy named Lamarck. Okay, if you hear about Lamarckian evolution, that was kind of the probably the more dominant theory before Darwin's. And but yeah, it turned out to be wrong, you know. And Darwin was able to explain why, and he came up with a better theory, and he showed some evidence for it. And it held up at the time, and it has held up to evidence since then, which you're leaving out a whole bunch of it there. Okay, now I'm going to use a metaphor that's going to be a bit of a stretch, but I'm trying really hard to put this in terms you can understand, okay? Yes, it would be ridiculous if Darwin looked at just those finches and then pulled evolution out of the air as a complete theory based on that alone. Much like it would be really silly if you did something like pick up a Bible, read the first sentence, you know, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and then formed, you know, your entire Christian outlook with Jesus and everything intact, you know, from that one little sentence. That's the same kind of thing, okay? And do you really think that that's... You astound me sometimes.
All that proves is that when people breed, or when animals breed, their offspring come in all shapes and sizes.
Like I said, organisms reproduce with variation. Glad you're with me on that.
So, is it possible that God designed life with the ability to create offspring with varying sizes? Yes.
Okay, as I have said before, I hope, and as people like Cabane52 and Don Exodus 2 demonstrate, acceptance of the theory of evolution is not mutually exclusive with being a Christian. Okay, so what you've just said, it's almost tautological. If organisms reproduce with variation, then yes, it would be possible that God made organisms able to reproduce with variation. Okay, yeah, but see how you haven't added anything to it. Yeah, there's no explanation or anything like that. It's just that's the way God made it. You know, and that doesn't say anything about what kind of God it is. That doesn't necessarily imply the Christian God or the Muslim God or the Jewish God, or even though those are arguably the same one, it doesn't imply that Thor or Zeus exist or any of that kind of stuff.
I also want to talk about some of the philosophical implications. Before this video and the following videos get extremely scientific in nature...
Sorry.
I want to just start with philosophical foundations. We're going to talk about, if you contour to the evolutionary worldview, what are the implications for you? How are you going to look at life differently if you believe that?
Okay, that is what you call an appeal to consequences. The Wikipedia definition would be an argument that concludes a premise to be either true or false based on whether the premise leads to desirable or undesirable consequences. This is based on an appeal to emotion and is a form of logical fallacy. Okay, much like, okay, let's imagine for some reason I go skydiving, and after I jump out of the plane, I realize that my parachute pack is empty. I've got no parachute in there. Now, would I be tempted to sit back and say, okay, now if I have a parachute, that means I'm going to float down at a reasonable rate of descent and I'll be safe. If I don't have a parachute, I'm going to fall down, hit that ground, and I'm going to die. Therefore, I have a parachute. It doesn't work that way, does it? Same kind of thing here. Okay, now these can be interesting discussions in and of themselves, but notice that it is a non sequitur. Okay, this has nothing to do with the truth value of evolutionary theory. Whether it's true or not has nothing to do with whether there are good or bad consequences of it. Okay.
Evolutionists like to say, this is a purely scientific theory, there is no philosophical ramifications to it, it is not a philosophy. Well, yes, it is. By believing in evolution, you make certain assumptions, you make certain finalities, consequences. There are consequences to believing it, which changes the way you look at people, the way you look at the world, the way you look at the purpose and reason to your existence and the existence of your fellow man. So I want to show you what you do believe if you believe in evolution. Okay.
Okay, and now you are going to tell me what is going on between my ears. And you know that better than I do because why again?
If you believe in evolution, you do not believe that life was created with a purpose or a design by something that created it with a purpose or design or a reason for its existence. So,
not necessarily. Once again, the existence, which is the verifiable existence of theistic evolutionists, once again, like Cabane52 and Don Exodus 2 and the mega guy, I'll put a link, I can't remember his name right now, but those people show that's direct evidence that what you just said is false. Okay, so once again, you really should drop that from your repertoire unless you're just trying to entertain us, which in that case, go ahead. But here's the thing, even if I'm not a Christian, okay, what is to stop me, like I'm not saying that this is plausible, but it would be logically consistent. I believe in a great Rapida, and about 40 billion years ago, that Rapida spent about 22 billion years planning how he wanted the universe to come out. We don't really know the details, but he initiated this Big Bang thing, And but Hecbata is so smart and so intelligent, and he built the universe with us in mind, created the laws of physics so that they would unfold. The Big Bang, and galaxies coalescing, and stars, and supernovas spreading the heavier elements, and all that stuff coming onto a planet. Somehow abiogenesis happening, but he knew what he had to do, okay? And he set up evolution to happen with us in mind. It just turns out it's exactly the way that science describes it right now. I could believe that. You can't disprove that premise that I just put out. So again, like, stop it with the false dichotomies, man. Again, unless you're trying to just entertain us, okay? If you're trying to make an argument, you're not doing a good job. Moving right along.
If an evolutionist wants to live a total life of debauchery and immorality, of murder, of thievery, of blasphemy, of whatever they want, they can justify it because in the evolutionary worldview, there are no moral absolutes.
You know what? If I wanted to do all that stuff, yeah, maybe I could. But we've got these things. What are they called? Oh yeah, police that arrest people that steal and kill and stuff like that. And so yeah, if I wanted to murder and steal, maybe I could. But why would I want to in the first place? That's not the kind of society I want to live in. And I am certainly happy to, let the police arrest people that murder and steal and, things like that. And, I put a certain amount of trust in the justice system. It's not flawless, of course, but, it's the best we can do.
How can you determine right from wrong if we evolved from the animal kingdom and the animal kingdom is just a bunch of biological material that came from the earth without design but just by randomness and chance and the laws of physics?
Okay, well, I can just give you one version off the top of my head. One thing that I would say, is perhaps separates you and I is I'm willing to discuss things and, offer reasons for how I might feel about this, that, or the other thing, and willing to listen to the reasons of others and see what they are, But if you're going to say something, along the lines of, just this book says so, therefore, that's not going to fly with me. But, from a quote-unquote materialistic point of view, one way you could see it is, I just want to live in a stable society. And I've been evolved to think that way, I guess. But that's the whole thing, is it's stable. If enough of us had those kind of tendencies, that would be a chaotic society and arguably one that wouldn't survive for very long, and then we wouldn't be here to talk about it. So I don't claim to know, right now what any ultimate truths about human morality might be, but, to paraphrase Sam Harris, if there are truths, like along those lines, they should exist for all human beings. Regardless of race or geography or anything like that, and we should be able to rationally discuss them, find out what they are, and to the extent that there are objective ways of seeing what makes people more happy or less happy, or increasing well-being or not, and even discussing what those terms mean in the first place. Rationality is the only way, to arrive at that point. And yeah, you seem to be offering an alternative of just doing what this book says right here. As it stands right now, no one has given me any reason to trust the Bible as a source of objective, literal truths about the nature of reality any more than the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or the Lord of the Rings or the Matrix or the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I think I've been really tempted to sit down and draw a worldview, moral philosophy, outlook, all that kind of stuff from it, because I think you could, and it would be arguably, quote unquote, better. We can discuss what that means than a lot of the other religions that are available on tap. I think that might be an interesting experiment. Someone's probably already done it, actually.
Just as I can break the CD and no one would shed a tear, I could actually walk around with a sledgehammer and break people's skulls, and if evolution were true, there would be nothing morally wrong about that, because life is as valueless as an inanimate object.
Says who? I never said that. If your criteria is complexity or statistical improbability, then life is pretty freaking valuable indeed. And by the way, the complexity and improbability are explained by evolution, by natural selection. So just check the links over there.
That is the philosophical ramification of the evolutionary theory.
And once again, I am forced to emphasize that even if you were correct about any of those things, that still would have no bearing on whether or not the theory was accurate.
And that's why the children today, the kids today, are growing up doing drugs, and acting they want to act because we're teaching them they came from monkeys.
Doesn't the Bible say we came from dirt?
That is the philosophical ramifications of the evolutionary theory. So, without further ado, I just want you guys to know that I used to believe in the evolutionary theory. I believed it for pretty much my whole life. Like I said, since I was 7. I'm 23 now, and I stopped believing in it when I was about 21.
Okay. So, I guess that means you used to
live a total life of debauchery and immorality, of murder, of thievery.
Okay, VenomFangX. How many people did you murder while you believed in evolution? Come on, man, spit it out. If you've accepted Jesus, you're going to heaven anyway, right? So, how many? How many people did you kill before you stopped believing in evolution? And if the answer is 0, why is that? What stopped you? Seriously, it'd be really nice if you could answer that question. Okay, and in fact, I would probably wager that you won't answer the question. But we'll see. Prove me wrong. Come on.
The Bible says God created the dinosaurs in the beginning and that they largely went extinct during a worldwide flood about 4,400 years ago. You guys ever heard the story of Noah's Ark?
Taking the flood story literally is ridiculous on so many levels. And it would take, probably about an hour and a half to go through and explain exactly why on every single point. But fortunately, Nick Gisburn has done that. Link. And you can check that out there. One thing I do want to hit on, though, is if you're taking that story literally, it's really funny to me, actually, because in my experience, the only people that take the story literally are people that also are very much opposed to evolution and insist that it can't be true and all this kind of stuff. But at the same time, you basically have to believe in like super evolution, in the words of CDK 007. Because, even if you talk about there were only kinds on the ark, you're still talking about a rate of change, which is much faster than what's proposed by, evolutionary biologists today. And it also says that all the different races and cultures that we have on Earth today, all those 6 billion people came from just 8. And I don't know where that diversity would come from in that short amount of time. That's the thing that's so ironic about this is, to take the Noah's Ark flood story literally, you pretty much have to believe in super evolution. Can you not see the ridiculousness in insisting that, you couldn't go from fish to amphibians to reptiles in millions of years? That's implausible. But, these other kinds of changes, in the space of a few thousand years, even though those changes are smaller, you're talking about a rate of change, which, like I said, is just much faster than what is proposed by evolutionary biologists. So no matter how you spin it, it's an improbable answer. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, This is the end of part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Please check out those videos on the side of this video. The evolution theory is based upon scientific evidence. I'm trying to walk around with a sledgehammer and break people's skulls. Lies upon lies upon lies upon lies upon lies upon lies.